Hey everyone, it's Justine. Welcome to a new video. Today my technique is sort of what to do with coloring stamps when you don't want to color. I'm going to be using some stamps from the Gray Muse, and the Gray Muse was founded by Ruby, and she was a fellow design team member and fellow paper crafter, kind of like what I do, and then she branched out and made her own company, and she started off with enamel pins and stickers and moved to clear stamps, so I'm excited I get to use them in today's video. So I'm going to be creating two cards today, and I'm going to be creating, again, with the idea in mind, what to do when you don't want to color and you have a lot of coloring stamps. Sometimes you just don't feel like sitting down for a half an hour, 45 minutes and coloring an image, and sometimes I do. So today was one of those days where I didn't want to, and I thought I would do that in a video. When I don't feel like coloring, I always turn to my ink pads, so I thought I'd do a blend today. I'm using the Picket Fence Life-Changing brushes. You can see I even have it decorated with a sticker from Ruby. These are high quality vinyl, and they're weather resistant, so they're really great. And I also wanted to mention, just very quickly, that she also has enamel pins that are super amazing, and they are card making themed. Like this one here says card maker, for example. And I have a link below in the video description going towards Crafty pins if you're interested in picking any of them up. I'm going to give this one away to one lucky viewer. Just leave a comment below in the video description, and in a couple of days I will reply to someone letting them know that they are a winner. I have an extra one of these, so I thought I would give that away. So as I said, my go-to when doing this is my life-changing blending brushes and doing an ink blended background. I just wanted to briefly mention that if these have been on your wish list or your Christmas list, scrapbook.com actually has a bundle right now. I have it listed below in the description as a special price bundle. And that includes the life-changing blending brushes as well as a stencil for under $30. And these retail for, I believe, $50 regular price, and you actually get a stencil with it, so that's really awesome. And so I have that listed below, and I don't know how long that sale or special is going to be or if it's a set thing, so be sure to pick it up right away just in case it happens to disappear in the near future. So you can see I'm starting off my cardstock, working my way in a circular motion, and in total this background took me about 7 minutes. I really like to build up my colors slowly. That's how you get the smoothest blend. And I have to say my inks are a little bit on the dry side because I moved and my refills are sitting on some ship in the middle of the Atlantic. So I'm doing the best I can. I'm using Limoncello, Tiki Torch, and Coral Cabana from Catherine Pooler Inks for this background. I'm going back and forth between the colors as I go so that I can really get a smooth blend. I'm just going to speed up the process now so it doesn't get too boring watching me blend. Oh, how wish I could blend this quickly. So you can see here I'm going between the three colors, always going back and forth. I have a brush for each color family, so I'm using a yellow, orange, and pink brush today. And you don't have to worry about cleaning them. All you need to do is rub them off on a piece of paper until no color comes off the brush anymore and they're ready to use. You can wash them with some warm soapy water though, but they do take quite a while to dry, especially based on your climate. Now I'm going to take this large stamp here. This is the Happiness Blooms stamp set, and this is a large 6x8 stamp, and this floral is huge. I absolutely love it. And I'm going to be inking it up with some embossing ink and heat embossing it. So again, you don't have to worry about coloring this whole cluster. I mean, you're more than welcome to. Pencil crayons, watercolors, Copic markers, Spectrum Noir, whatever you want. But sometimes we just don't have the time. And so adding just a simple embossed look over a blended background looks amazing. In order to get a perfect stamped image, I'm going to be using my Misti stamping tool. I'm inking up the stamp using some embossing ink from scrapbook.com, and then I'm going to stamp it on the left side of my cardstock. So when that's done, just make sure that you push kind of hard on the areas that are more detailed. I always find when stamps are extremely detailed, they need a little extra pressure in the Misti. For my embossing powder, I'm using some Brutus Monroe Alabaster white embossing powder in ultra fine. Any ultra fine white embossing powder will do because this is a pretty detailed stamp. I always like to use a super fine or an ultra fine, but you can try with regular too. I'm sure it would be fine. Your lines might just end up being a little bit thicker. So I empty all my embossing powder back in the tube all the time. I never want to waste anything. And I'm going to go ahead and use my Wow dual heat setting embossing tool to heat this. So when that is all done, I'm going to go ahead and add this to my card base. But before I do that, I need to think about my sentiments. This is where I was really inspired by Ruby herself, the creator of these stamps. Ruby, when she used to create cards, always created cards with multiple sentiments on them, which is something I don't see many people doing. And so I thought I would add 3 sentiments to the front of my card today and try something different and be inspired by Ruby. Remember, taking inspiration from other crafters and card designers is totally okay. Just make sure you put your own spin on it instead of directly copying, and that way you can stay unique to yourself and you don't have to worry about anybody being upset. If you're an aspiring YouTuber or card designer or want to make it on design teams, this is especially important that you find something that is truly unique to your personal style and you use that often. This is what's going to set you apart from everyone else. I'm now going to go ahead and just use my paper trimmer to make these a little bit smaller. I'm going to make them into small rectangles, and I'm just using my Stampin' Up! Trimmer here, which is unfortunately discontinued. It makes me so sad. This is my favorite trimmer of all time. I'm going to be using a card base, again a pre-cut, pre-scored card base, Nina Solar White 80 pound from scrapbook.com for my card base. This is a top folding card. They also have side folding cards as well available. These, I seriously could write a song about them. I love them so much. It saves me so much time. Even though obviously you're going to pay a little bit of a higher price than buying the Nina and cutting it all yourself and scoring it all yourself, to me at the holiday season, it is so worth grabbing some pre-cut, pre-scored cardstock. And this is a cardstock I love, so I know it's a good quality. They even have packages with matching envelopes, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to glue this, put this background onto my card base, and then I'm going to add some small foam squares. These are also from scrapbook.com. They come in mini, regular size, and they also come in circles in the same small and large size. And I absolutely love them because they're easy to peel off the backing. Kind of a playful way, and really just put them on a bit of a diagonal. I think they're just so much fun. And I chose 3 sentiments from the set that really kind of coordinate together, I think. And I like that they're small. They give the receiver something to read, and I think it's like a little more heartfelt, I guess, when you put multiple ones on here. I don't know. That's kind of the feeling that I get from it. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm using some 4mm clear droplets from Pretty Pink Posh. These are available at a lot of different companies. Ellen Hudson makes them, Pretty Pink Posh, Studio Katya. These are the ones that I have in my stash, and I absolutely love them. I'm using my Crystal Katana sequin pickup tool. This here was a little bit of an investment for me, I'm not going to lie. I really like to try out different tools so I can recommend them to my audience, and I always find that the most expensive is not always the best, but in this case it kind of is. I've had the Pick Me Up tool, this one, I've had the one that looks like a stylus tool, and this one to me is the one that works best. I do want to disclaim though that the first time I used it, I did not care for it. I just needed to wear down the tip a little bit, and then it got more sticky, and now I find it's just a perfect consistency for picking up and leaving tools, sequins and beads. And I find it picks up and takes off just perfectly each time. It's awesome. So here's a final look at all the little droplets I added to my card. I may have gone a little overboard, but I do love them, so I thought it would look kind of cool. For my second card, when you don't feel like coloring, this is something you can do. I've never done this before, and I was kind of sitting there thinking, what am I going to do that's a little bit different? And this kind of came to mind. I am using the Hugs stamp set from the Gray Muse for this one, and I am going to be stamping it onto some white cardstock first in black ink. Since I'm using the Misti stamping tool, I'm actually going to stamp this 3 times in a row. I really wanted to get a dark image, and you're going to see why when the card is being put together, why I really wanted that and why I didn't want it any sort of faded black lines. So again, using my VersaFine black Onyx ink, I'm going to stamp this down using my Misti stamping tool, and I keep my cardstock always in the corner of my Misti so that I can stamp multiple times and get a really dark look. When it was all said and done, I went ahead and I replaced my white cardstock here with some vellum. I'm using some vellum from Catherine Pooler Designs. This is my favorite vellum. It's super thick, really great vellum. And I'm making sure to wash my stamp first. I'm using some Brutus Monroe Squeaky Clean stamp cleaner and a microfiber cloth. And I haven't taken my stamp out of my misti. I've left it in here exactly where it was on the white sheet. And I'm using some embossing ink and just inking that up. And you can see here just by holding it to the light that it's stamped perfectly. I always find vellum, it's always a little bit easier to stamp on than paper because of the non-porous surface. And so I find it just tends to really glisten, so you can really see if you got every spot or not. I'm using some Gilded Sparkle Gold embossing powder, again from Brutus Monroe. This is a gold with glitter in it, so a little bit different than your standard gold embossing powder. Pouring it over top of my image, and I am just catching it below with a piece of paper. I also wanted to mention, I forgot I didn't put it on camera, I pre-treated my vellum with an embossing bag just because vellum can be a little bit staticky, so I always make sure if I'm working with vellum to pre-treat it with an embossing bag, and I have that listed below in the video description. It's honestly a tool that costs like $2–3, and it's the best for embossing to ensure that you get a good embossing look. I think one of my favorite things about Catherine Pooler vellum is that it didn't warp really at all when I added the heat to it. So the original vellum piece that I had stamped on was 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, I believe, and I believe at the very end I took off about 3/4 of an inch off of each side. And you can really make this as big or as small as you want, and if you're using a stamp that's different than the one that I'm using, you're really going to have to make that judgment based on how big the stamp is. So when I first cut it down at the 1/2 inch on each side, I could see that I wasn't going to be able to see enough of the black image, so I went back in and I did some more. So once I had done that, I went ahead and I started placing some liquid adhesive in areas where the embossing powder was a little bit thicker. Now, if you don't have a steady hand enough to do this, then I would suggest grabbing some Gina K Connect glue or a glue that comes in sort of a pen tube form. That'll allow you to be able to squeeze out the glue in a small and minimal amount. But you are able to do it with a Tombow Mono Liquid Adhesive or this Nuvo Deluxe Adhesive. You just really need to do the lightest squeeze you possibly can on the glue bottle and drag your tip over top of the line, and you'll get some really fine lines. Once I had a good feeling that enough was on there, I went ahead and I just hovered over top of the stamped image and I placed this over top. I have really messy hair right now, so I apologize for that. I woke up and created this video, and yeah, it's just what it is. So then I just held it down with my hand for a good 20–30 seconds just to make sure the glue started to fuse. And then I have this really cool look of embossing powder with the stamped image around it. I think it looks really neat. Off screen, I added this to my card base panel, and then I decided to add some sequins and some gold jewels. So I'm using a retired sequin pack from Little Things by Lucy's Cards, but honestly, it's gold sequins. You can find them anywhere. And then I'm using as well some of the gold jewels from Pretty Pink Posh. And I decided that today I'm just going to be kind of fearless with my sequins. I'm going to put them wherever. I'm going to be super random. I'm going to use a ton of them. Why not? Let's see what happens. And so again, just adding some glue here and there, and then using my Crystal Katana tool to pick them up and add them to my surface. Since I've already done this on the other card, I'm going to skip ahead to the finished result. I'm not going to lie, putting them directly on the image did not seem like a good idea for me, but overall, I think this was really cool. It just added a whole other look that I've never done before and put me a little out of my comfort zone, which is always what I'm looking for in card making, is to do things that I haven't tried before just to see how much I can improve or what looks good and what doesn't for my personal style. So I hope you enjoyed these 2 card ideas on what to do if you don't feel like coloring. Be sure to check out the Gray Muse. I have all the links below in the video description, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I will be back in a couple days with more Christmas videos for the 12 Days of Christmas series. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Bye for now.